Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Line and Zion. Today we're covering something really important. Nobody really wants to talk about it. Every time you hear about it, it gets weird. And we should not be apologetic about these kinds of conversations. What is the collective responsibility of the Palestinian, the Gazan, in a post 10/7 world? The perpetuation, the propping up of this victimology of the Palestinians being some worker bee drone that has no ability to affect change in their communities. This goes against the grain of human history. The way the human beings have been able to move from, you know, tyrants and dictators and kings of absolute, rule to, societies where there's consent of the governed is because we stood up. Ordinary men wouldn't go down the slippery road of death, destruction, violence, malevolence. It requires a human being to be a human being. And after 10/7, fighting an enemy that maximizes its own civilian casualties on purpose to using them as PR drones to affect a public opinion pressure on Israel to stop what they can't do on a battlefield, stop them in the world of public opinion, is obvious. They built 450 miles of terror tunnels. They didn't build up a society, they built down. They networked entire Gaza with weapons caches, predetermined assault locations, ambush spots throughout mosque schools, hospitals. They basically created a terror fortress throughout Gaza. And they dress like civilians. They camouflage themselves as civilians, and they pop out in a civilian window with a predetermined gun to shoot Israeli soldiers to run down a tunnel that's booby-trapped. You have a 30-second window to take out that terrorist. What do? I love all these Clausewitzes, these Sun Tzus who think they know better, even though Israel, a year and a half later, has a casualty ratio between civilian and terrorist lowest in urban warfare history. And that's not coming from IDF. That's coming from people who are teaching American military urban warfare. They're saying it. So the question is, what's the collective responsibility of a people that voted them in 2005? Obviously, a totalitarian, illiberal group of people, a jihadi death cult, who never let another election happen, similar to the Nazis in 1933, and then subsequently harbored them for 17 years, networking their entire society for a war against Jews. By the way, during that period of time, launching thousands and thousands of rockets from homes into homes, double war crime. What would any other nation do? That's what I love to hear. What would any other nation? It would be ridiculous. It would be ridiculous to just, comparatively speaking, either in previous wars of this to comparatively today. You can't tell me one country that would be able to do this better than the IDF. Not one. So they elected them, they harbored them. What's their opinions in terms of what's this society actually feel and believe? Well, we actually do have polling to give us some kind of idea. And their own polling, the Arab World for Research and Development, a month after 2023, revealed that 83% of West Bank residents and close to 64% of Gazans either strongly or somewhat supported the pogrom and the heinous mass murder, mass rape, mass kidnapping of October 7th. This is what we're dealing with. This is the poor Palestinian. They believe, mass majority believe what happened on October 7th was great. We're talking about a completely radicalized society. That saying that you had a Palestinian Center for Policy and Survey Research in end of 2023, I think in December. They found that 82% of West Bank and 57% of Gaza residents viewed the Hamas's decision to attack on 10/7 as correct. You have that same polling center, 71%. This was in March 2024. Of Palestinians in the West Bank believe that it was a good thing. So even 6 months later, after you saw all the devastation, 71% think it's a good thing that they did what they did on October 7th, the carnage of October 7th, going to 22 communities, raping and mutilating women, cutting off their breasts, having children, watching their parents being killed, parents watching their children being killed. Okay, and then you have in November 2024, less than 5 months ago. I mean, in September 2024, my bad. 57%. I mean, were deemed it finally incorrect. So you have 71% of Palestinians in March 24. That's now at 57% deeming, and that's in Gaza. So still 43% a year later, their whole society think 43% still think it's a good thing. I think it's more, but that's what their own polling centers are saying. Oh, by the way, the majority of the West Bank think it's, according to that survey, think it was considered it a correct move. But what's even the craziest is that the Arab World for Research and Development, they came up with a survey in the end of 2024. They said 98% of Palestinians felt a sense of pride regarding the events of 10/7. That is gnarly. That's gnarly. 63%, they said, in Gaza support it. So, like I said, I didn't believe the first one on the less than 50%. What do these polls show? They show that collectively illustrate the strong support for 10/7 among Palestinians. So we're dealing with a very radicalized society, and this is what people don't want to talk about. Does that mean that the IDF should be targeting people? Absolutely not, and we're not. But does that mean that they're poor, innocent, nothing? Nothing. They didn't do anything wrong. No. And then the question goes: now that Israel's turning off the spigot, not allowing collective aid to support Hamas, is that the type of collective punishment that is unacceptable? I want to know a nation that would be rocketed and would be expected to provide the place that's rocketing them electricity, food, water. I don't remember in the Atlantic Charter, the declaration was from Roosevelt and Churchill, going to war with the Wehrmacht. No, I remember being unconditional surrender of the German nation. We're not going to war with Hamas. We're going to war with Hamas's takeover of Gaza. And that's what we have to deal with. No war has ever been fought where innocents don't die, especially in an urban setting where the enemy is so dastardly that they actually want you and they use them as human shields so that they can use them like PR drones. And still, Israel's given the aid and allow the water and the electricity to go forward for this last year and a half. And so we got to ask ourselves, what's the moral theory behind that? Now, we've gone by the social contract theory. I mean, that's what the West has pretty much gone. John Locke, Rousseau, Hobbes. And this is the idea of society consents to the governed by its leaders through an implicit or explicit social contract. So our ability we participate within an unjust government, or if we fail to oppose that unjust government, we share a moral responsibility. Even though that responsibility is somewhat diminished in a totalitarian regime, it still exists. According to like Hannah Arendt and Karl Jaspers in collective responsibility theory, a group can be held, a nation or society, morally responsible for actions taken in its name, even if not every individual directly contributes to that action. Passive savoir or failure to resist these unjust or policies, or they benefit from those unjust policies, can make a society definitely implicit. Can you again? Does that mean that they're held as soldiers on a battlefield? No, but it also means that they're not the innocent victims that like to be portrayed throughout mainstream media in Europe and some of the West in America. There's the just war theory, which is like Aquinas and Augustine and Walzer, Michael Walzer. A society bears responsibility if it supports or does not resist unjust wars and aggression. If It's just, if they bear greater in a democracy, there's obviously greater moral responsibility. But in totalitarian states, dissent is met with oppression. Collective responsibility becomes less clear, but it's still there. Look, we're talking about people who believe in, critical theory. Where if you're a white man 5 generations removed from the slavery era, you're somewhat responsible. But somehow this doesn't apply to Palestinians, where 98% believe in pride and 10-7, and they have like what's the line? What I think that they have like. I think the ADL took a poll in 2025 that like 97% of the adults in the West Bank and Gaza hold anti-Semitic views. I mean, it's the highest index score globally. This is what we're dealing with. So it's not like Hamas came out of nowhere in like some kind of vacuum that didn't exist. We're dealing with a death cult that obviously has wide appeal. And we're not going to just sit there and be made to be told that these people are just worker bees. Is it? Am I supposed to apologize for defending our children? Is Jewish blood supposed to be so cheap? I mean, we're expected to provide humanitarian aid to a people that hates us and is trying to destroy us. No other nation on earth would do it. This is you're trying to lecture the Jewish people who taught the world about the brotherhood of man, the dignity of the individual, that we're all created in God's image, that you should treat your neighbor as you would like to be treated, that we brought to the world the notion of treating the stranger and the orphan and the widow with respect and dignity. You're trying to dictate to a people that taught the world about the rule of law and that it applies equally to everyone in a society. Give me a break. Jewish blood isn't cheap anymore. And the world can scream as much as it is like, that does not move the needle. We have a destiny and we're going to defend it with everything we have. And it's when the world is quiet that I get nervous. Between 1939 and 1945, the world was very quiet. Screaming, yelling, I'm fine with that. It's when they're very quiet. That's when I get nervous. On that note, I hope that was edifying a little bit for you guys. Speak soon. Bye.